Getting older is not easy. When you reach 70, you start to notice things you never paid attention to before. Your body does not move as fast. Your legs feel a little heavier. Your arms are not as strong as they once were. And sometimes, just getting out of bed in the morning feels like a task. I have seen too many men and women give in to this weakness. They accept it as part of aging. They sit more. They stop doing things they love. Before they know it, they are trapped in a body that refuses to keep up with their mind. But it does not have to be this way. I am here to tell you that you can fight it. You can stay strong. You can avoid weakness even after 70. You just have to know how. The first mistake people make is thinking they need to take it easy. I am old now. I should rest more. That is what they say. And that is exactly why they grow weaker. Rest is important. But too much of it steals your strength. The body is like a machine. If you do not use it, it starts to rust. You need movement. Every single day, you must move. Walk around your house. Stretch your arms. Stand on your toes. If you can, go outside and walk a little. Do not let a day go by where you do not challenge your body in some way. Even when it feels hard. Especially when it feels hard. That is when you need it the most. Another thing I have learned is that food can be your greatest enemy or your best friend. When I was younger, I could eat anything. I never thought about what went into my body. But after 70, everything you eat matters. The wrong foods make you sluggish. They steal your energy. They make your joints ache. The right foods keep you sharp. They keep your bones strong. They keep your heart beating the way it should. Eat real food. Not the stuff that comes in shiny packages. Eat fruits. Eat vegetables. Eat lean meats. Drink water like your life depends on it. Because it does. And if you think it is too late to change, you are wrong. Your body is always listening. It will thank you for every good thing you put into it. Then there is sleep. People do not talk about sleep enough. But it is the foundation of strength. A tired body is a weak body. If you are not getting good sleep, everything else will fall apart. Stop staring at bright screens before bed. Keep your room dark and cool. Go to sleep and wake up at the same time every day. And do not be afraid to take short naps if your body needs them. But do not sleep too much. Too much sleep can be just as bad as too little. Find the balance. One thing I have noticed is that people who stay strong after 70 all have one thing in common. They have a reason to get up in the morning. A purpose. When you lose that, your body starts to give up too. Find something to look forward to every day. A hobby. A routine. A simple pleasure. Maybe it is gardening. Maybe it is reading. Maybe it is meeting a friend for coffee. Maybe it is spending time with your grandchildren. Whatever it is, hold on to it. Never let your days feel empty. An empty day leads to an empty spirit. And an empty spirit leads to a weak body. Another mistake people make is avoiding challenges. They think, I am too old for this. So they stop trying new things. They stop learning. They stop pushing themselves. And that is when the decline begins. Keep your mind working. Learn something new. Read books. Solve puzzles. Have deep conversations. Never let your mind go dull. A sharp mind keeps the body alive. And do not forget about people. Loneliness is poison. It drains you faster than anything else. I have seen strong men grow weak simply because they had no one to talk to. No one to share their days with. Do not let that happen to you. Stay connected. Call an old friend. Join a group. Talk to your neighbors. Be around people who make you feel alive. Even if it is just for a little while each day. It makes a difference. Now, I want to talk about something most people ignore. Pain. When you get older, pain becomes part of life. Your back aches. Your knees hurt. Your hands do not move the way they used to. And it is easy to think, this is just how it is now. But ignoring pain does not make it go away. It makes it worse. Pay attention to your body. Stretch. Do gentle exercises. Try warm baths. Do not sit too long in one position. And if something feels wrong, do not wait. Get it checked. Taking care of pain early can keep you moving longer. I also want to tell you about one of the most powerful things you can do. Breathe. I know it sounds simple, but most people do not breathe deeply enough. Shallow breathing makes you tired. It makes you anxious. It makes you feel weak. Take slow, deep breaths. Fill your lungs completely. Let the air wake up your body. Do it every day. It will make you feel stronger in ways you never expected. Let me tell you one last thing. Never tell yourself it is too late. I do not care if you are 70. I do not care if you are 80. I do not care if you are 90. You can still make changes. You can still get stronger. You can still feel good. Your body listens to what you do. If you move it, if you feed it well, if you rest it right, if you fill it with purpose, it will reward you. I have seen too many people lose their strength before they had to. Do not be one of them. Stand up. Move. Eat well. Sleep deeply. Stay sharp. Stay connected. Do not let weakness win. You are not done yet. Your body is still yours. Treat it well, and it will carry you forward. Now, let's clear some common questions. What role does purpose and daily routine play in keeping the body and mind active after 70? When you wake up in the morning, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Is it excitement for the day ahead, or is it just another morning in a long line of days that feel the same? I have lived long enough to know that the difference between a strong body and a weak one, between a sharp mind and a dull one, often comes down to one thing: purpose. I have seen too many men and women reach 70 and suddenly feel lost. They retire from their jobs. Their children are grown and busy with their own lives. Their days start to feel empty. And before they know it, their bodies follow the path of their minds. They slow down. They sit more. They stop challenging themselves. And that is when they begin to fade. But I have also seen those who stay alive in every sense of the word. They wake up with energy. They move with purpose. Their eyes are full of life. What is the difference? It is simple. They have a reason to keep going. They have something to look forward to every single day. I remember an old friend of mine who was always full of energy, even in his 80s. He had a routine that never changed. Every morning, he got up, stretched his arms, and took a walk around his garden. He would check on his plants like they were old friends. He had a little notebook where he kept track of which flowers bloomed, which ones struggled, and what changes he needed to make. Then he would sit outside and drink his coffee, watching the world wake up. It was a simple thing, but it gave him purpose. It gave him a reason to move, a reason to think, a reason to care. I saw others his age who spent their mornings in front of the television, staring at a screen, waiting for time to pass. They were the ones who lost their strength first. A daily routine is not just about habits. It is about telling your body and mind that life is still moving, and you are moving with it. Without it, days blend together. One morning feels the same as the next. There is nothing to push you forward. But when you have a routine, when you have small things that keep you engaged, your body listens. Your muscles stay active. Your brain stays sharp. Even your heart beats with more purpose. I have seen it in my own life. Days when I wake up and know exactly what I need to do, I feel stronger. But on days when I have nothing planned, I feel slower, weaker, almost as if my body is unsure if it should even bother. Some people think purpose has to be something big, a grand mission, a lifelong dream. But it does not. It can be as simple as making sure the birds in your yard are fed. As simple as writing a few thoughts in a journal every night. As simple as walking to the same spot every day just to feel the sun on your face. What matters is that it is yours. That it means something to you. I once knew a man who had lost his wife after more than 50 years of marriage. He struggled to find meaning in his days after she was gone. But then he started writing letters to his grandchildren. Real letters. Handwritten, filled with stories and advice. He wrote one every week. At first, it was just a way to keep himself busy. But over time, it became his reason to sit at his desk, his reason to think, his reason to remember and share what he had learned in his long life. His letters became something his grandchildren treasured. And he, in turn, found strength in knowing he was still making a difference. When you stop having purpose, your body notices. Muscles weaken because they are not being used. The mind slows because it is not being challenged. Even the smallest tasks start to feel difficult. A short walk becomes tiring. A simple conversation becomes exhausting. And once that decline starts, it is hard to stop. I have seen too many people who let go of purpose and soon after, they let go of life itself. They may still be breathing, but they are not really living. I have also learned that purpose changes over time. What drove you in your 30s or 40s may not be the same thing that keeps you going in your 70s. And that is okay. The key is to find what works for you now. Maybe it is helping a neighbor with small tasks. Maybe it is learning something new, like a language or a musical instrument. Maybe it is just having a regular routine that gives your day structure. What matters is that you do not wake up feeling like there is nothing to do. Because when there is nothing to do, the body begins to believe there is no reason to stay strong. A strong routine also gives you control. As you age, there are many things you cannot change. Your hair turns white. Your skin wrinkles. Some days, your joints ache for no reason at all. But when you have a routine, when you have something that belongs to you, it reminds you that not everything is out of your hands. You decide how you spend your mornings. You decide how you fill your afternoons. That sense of control, no matter how small, keeps you grounded. It reminds you that life is still yours to shape. And do not forget the power of connection. A routine that involves other people is even more powerful. I knew a woman who had a simple habit. Every morning, she would call one friend, just to check in. It was never a long call. Sometimes only a few minutes. But it gave her something to look forward to. It kept her mind sharp. And it reminded her that she was not alone. Those who isolate themselves after 70 often weaken faster. The body follows the heart. And a lonely heart has little reason to stay strong. If there is one thing I want you to remember, it is this. Your body is not just a machine that breaks down with age. It responds to how you live. If you give it a reason to move, it will move. If you give it a reason to stay strong, it will fight to stay strong. And if you give your mind a reason to stay sharp, it will resist the dullness that comes with time. The people who stay active and alive well into their 80s and 90s are not just lucky. They have purpose. They have routines. They wake up knowing that their day matters. How can one build resilience against unexpected health setbacks and continue living actively despite challenges? I remember a man I knew years ago. Strong as an ox in his younger days. The kind of man who never let anyone carry his bags, never asked for help, never showed a sign of weakness. Then one day, his body failed him. A sudden stroke left half of his body weak. At first, he thought his life was over. He sat in his chair for weeks, lost in self-pity. But one day, something changed. He decided that if he could not be the man he used to be, he would learn to be the man he could be now. He started small, lifting a spoon with his weak hand, taking tiny steps across the room. Every day, he pushed himself just a little more. It took time, but he got stronger. Not just physically, but mentally. That is the key. Resilience is not just about the body. It starts in the mind. One of the hardest lessons life teaches is that nothing stays the same. We lose people. We lose abilities. We lose the version of ourselves we once knew. But that does not mean we stop living. The first step in building resilience is accepting change. Fighting against reality only makes things harder. I have seen too many people waste energy wishing things were different. Wishing they were young again. Wishing they never got sick. Wishing the pain would go away. But wishing does not build strength. Action does. The moment you accept where you are is the moment you can start working toward where you want to be. I have also learned that resilience is built in the small moments, not just the big ones. People think of strength as something grand. Lifting heavy weights. Running up hills. But real strength is in the little choices we make every day. Choosing to get out of bed even when it hurts. Choosing to stretch even when stiffness makes it difficult. Choosing to smile even when life gives you a reason not to. These choices add up. They build something inside you that cannot be easily broken. One of the most important things I have done in my life is to stay curious. A mind that keeps learning stays sharp. And a sharp mind is a powerful weapon against any health setback. I have known people who gave up on learning once they retired. They stopped reading, stopped asking questions, stopped being curious, and slowly, their minds weakened along with their bodies. But I have also known those who kept their minds alive. A woman I once met started painting in her 70s. Another friend took up playing the piano after recovering from heart surgery. They were not just keeping busy. They were training their minds to stay engaged. And an engaged mind is a resilient one. There is also something to be said about gratitude. It is easy to focus on what we have lost. But the strongest people I know are the ones who focus on what they still have. I once spoke to a man who had lost his ability to walk. He told me he spent the first few months angry. Then one day, he looked outside and saw the sunlight filtering through the trees. He realized that he could still see, still hear, still think. From that day on, he chose to focus on what was left, not what was gone. Gratitude does not erase difficulties, but it shifts the mind in a way that makes challenges easier to bear. Another lesson I have learned is that the body is always listening. It responds to how we treat it. If we move it, even when it is difficult, it will fight to stay strong. I have had my share of pain. I have woken up with stiff joints and aching muscles. I have had days where my body felt heavier than it should. But I never let it stop me completely. Even on my worst days, I move. Even if it is just lifting my arms, stretching my legs, walking a few extra steps. The body weakens when it is ignored. The strongest people I know are not the ones without pain. They are the ones who keep going despite it. Resilience also comes from connection. Isolation is the enemy of strength. I have seen people lose their health and withdraw from the world. They stop calling friends, stop meeting family, stop laughing. And once that happens, the body follows. But I have also seen people who face their struggles with others by their side. They talk, they share, they let people in. And it gives them something to fight for, a reason to keep going. I have always believed that loneliness does more harm than illness. A person with people who care about them, who remind them that they are not alone, can endure far more than they ever thought possible. There is also power in routine. I have known people who lose their health and let go of structure. They wake up with no plan. They drift through the day. And slowly, they lose their strength. But those who keep a routine, no matter how small, keep their resilience. Waking up at the same time. Eating meals at the same time. Finding something to do every single day. It gives the mind and body something to hold on to. A sense of stability even when everything else feels uncertain. The last thing I will say is this. Do not let setbacks define you. You are not your illness. You are not your injury. You are not the pain you feel or the struggle you face. You are more than that. I have seen people who let their challenges become their identity. They talk about nothing else, think about nothing else, and they lose themselves in the process. But I have also seen those who refuse to be limited by what has happened to them. They adapt. They find new ways to live. They keep their spirit alive, no matter what. What are the most inspiring real-life examples of people who defied aging and remained strong beyond 70? I once knew a man who took up running in his 70s. Not just casual running, but long distances, pushing his body further than most people half his age. He was not always a runner. In fact, for most of his life, he barely exercised. But something inside him changed when he reached that milestone age. He told me he did not want to spend the rest of his years sitting in a chair, watching the world pass by. So, he laced up a pair of shoes and started. At first, it was just a few steps. Then a short walk. Then a slow jog. He did not care that his knees ached or that people told him he was too old for such things. He kept going. By the time he reached 80, he had completed marathons. His body had grown leaner, stronger, more powerful than it had been in decades. He showed me that strength is not something you lose with age. It is something you build, no matter how late you start. Then there was a woman I met who took up weightlifting in her 70s. A grandmother, small in stature but mighty in will. She walked into a gym filled with young men and picked up a barbell as if she had been doing it her whole life. At first, no one took her seriously. They told her she might get hurt, that her bones were too fragile. But she refused to listen. She started with light weights, moving carefully, learning the form. Over time, she lifted more. And then more. By the time she reached 80, she was lifting weights heavier than most people ever could. She told me that every time she lifted, she felt like she was taking back a piece of herself that time had tried to steal. She proved that it is never too late to reclaim your strength. I cannot forget the artist I knew, a man who started painting at 75. He had spent his life working, raising a family, never once picking up a brush. When he retired, he felt lost. Like many do. Like life had slowed down too much, leaving him without purpose. But one day, he decided to try something new. He sat down with a blank canvas and let his hands move. At first, the strokes were shaky, uncertain, but he kept at it. Every day, he painted. By the time he reached 90, his work was being displayed in galleries. He did not do it for fame or recognition. He did it because he had found something that made him feel alive again. His story taught me that creativity has no age. That passion does not fade unless we let it. There was another man I knew who took up dancing in his 70s. He had never danced before, never stepped onto a dance floor. But he lost his wife, and grief threatened to take him down with it. One day, his daughter invited him to a dance class. He resisted at first, saying it was not for him. But she insisted. So he went. That first class, he barely moved. Felt out of place. But he kept going. Kept trying. And slowly, something changed. The music woke something inside him. His steps grew more confident. His body more fluid. By the time he reached 80, he was dancing with joy, moving with a grace that defied his years. He told me that dancing brought him back to life. That it reminded him his body was still capable of joy. And then there was the woman who climbed mountains. Not hills. Not small trails. Mountains. She had spent her younger years afraid of adventure, always finding reasons to stay home. But at 70, she decided she had spent enough time sitting still. So, she started walking. First, short trails. Then steeper ones. By the time she reached 80, she had climbed peaks that many younger people would not dare to attempt. She told me that every step she took upward made her feel younger, stronger. She said that the higher she climbed, the less she feared aging. She showed me that adventure does not belong to the young. It belongs to the bold. I have also known people who did not find their strength in movement, but in their minds. One man I met started learning new languages in his 80s. Every morning, he sat with a notebook and practiced words and phrases. People asked him why he would bother at his age. He laughed and said, "Because I still can." By 90, he could hold conversations in 5 different languages. He proved that the mind does not have to slow down with age. It only weakens if we stop challenging it. Then there was the woman who went back to school at 78. She had always dreamed of getting a degree but had never had the chance. One day, she decided she would not let her age stop her. She enrolled in classes, surrounded by students decades younger than her. At first, she worried she would not keep up. But she did. She studied, wrote papers, took exams. And when she walked across that stage to receive her diploma at 82, she stood taller than anyone else. She reminded me that dreams do not have expiration dates. What all these people had in common was not just physical strength or mental sharpness. It was something deeper. A refusal to give in to what the world expected of them. A decision to keep pushing forward, to keep growing, to keep finding new ways to live fully. They did not listen to those who told them they were too old. They did not let fear hold them back. They embraced the years ahead with the same fire they had in their youth. I share these stories because I want people to know that aging is not a sentence. It is not a slow decline unless you make it one. It is a chance to reinvent yourself. To do the things you never did. To surprise yourself with what you are still capable of. The body may change. The years may pass. But the spirit? The spirit only weakens if you let it. And I have seen proof that it does not have to. I have seen people stand taller at 80 than they did at 50. I have seen them run faster, lift more, learn more, laugh harder. Age is only a number. The way you live is what defines you. So if you are sitting there thinking that you are too old to try something new, I hope these stories change your mind. If you have ever told yourself that it is too late, I hope you realize that it is not. There is always time to grow. Always time to move. Always time to live. The strongest people I have ever known are not the ones who never aged. They are the ones who refuse to let aging stop them. And if they can do it, so can you.